Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. It's been a hot minute, but I promise this will be worth it in so many ways that you cannot even imagine. Because it's not just two of us today, it's three of us. Three happy people all talking about manufacturing together and in so many different ways, like what businesses are doing, how they're making a difference, how we're getting more people involved in the industry, all of those kinds of things. But first, we need to tell you that you should come to our golf outing. It's in 14 days, something like that. It's right around the corner. It's probably closer than we would like, but that's when it is. So it's September 22nd at Countryside Golf Course. We are raising money for iWarriors, which is an organization that we've been supporting for the last 6 years. It's an organization that is serving combat wounded veterans. They do that by supplying iPads to veterans, and that on the surface could seem a little bit why, right? Why? What's the point of that? Well, it allows the veteran to be able to communicate with their loved ones when they're in the hospitals, or there are special apps on the iPads for PTSD training and things like that. Plus, it just allows us to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for all that you've done. So September 22nd, if you would like to play golf, if you would like to be a sponsor to the event, we are still taking those on. We never stop taking sponsors because we don't need to. And we want everybody to have an opportunity to say thank you. So if you would like to give back, you can just go to alliancelasersales.com/golf. And hopefully you can join us and be part of what we're doing. And that's that. The other thing is this is a live show. So when there's mistakes, because there will be, when you wonder why that wasn't edited out, it's because we don't do that, right? We're live, we're authentic, we're just trying to have conversations with you, the watcher, the listener. And so as we're going through this, if there's things that you want to ask, if you have questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put them in the chat so that we can get to your points and have the conversation that you want to have. This podcast has always been a platform for us to talk about manufacturing with the people that are in manufacturing, the people that want to know about manufacturing. So please take advantage of that opportunity. And lastly, if you are listening or watching, do me a favor, put your name and your company in the chat so that we can give you a shout out. We can say thanks for watching. Everybody's looking for more exposure and ways to be seen in this world of social media. And this is an easy way, right? We're saying, please take free opportunity. Like Richard Evans. Richard Evans just sent us a message and he says, the Alliance Golf Outing is the can't miss event of the year. Golf skills not required. Only stipulation is to have fun. There's one more. Bring money. Because our focus is raising money for veterans. So yes, we do not really keep track of the score. Usually there's 100 plus people that come out. 140 people, and we usually get like 4 scorecards turned in. So if that sounds like a good time to you, you should join us. Richard is coming all the way from South Carolina to come play golf. Mags will be there.
Yep, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we like to have fun at these events. It's really it's part of our mission. It's what we do. I didn't even say who we are. We're Alliance, specialties in laser sales. You should know that. And if you don't, I'm sure we'll get into it as we go along. But we have plenty of people to talk to and about and things. So why don't you introduce yourself? Sure. And we will go from there.
Yeah, I'm Riley Schmucker. I am the marketing communication specialist at Scot Forge in Spring Grove, Illinois. I've been with the company for a little more than 5 years, and I've loved every second of it.
All right, I'm next. My name is Michael Magliano. I'm with Cushman and Wakefield. Been with Cushman and Wakefield for 14 years. I'm heavily involved with the Manufacturing Association. My main job is an industrial real estate broker, but just like with all the different relationships and people that I meet, I just try to help out and give back as much as I can.
Awesome. And I can vouch for that. We were just saying how Mike and I, Mags and I, we like to make sure that each other are going to be at the different TMA events so that we can pay attention to what's going on. Usually it involves people telling us to be quiet. And that's fine. It is what it is. we're enjoying ourselves. We're networking. We're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing there.
Yep.
So that's a good thing. Real quick, while you guys are watching and listening, please put in the comments if you can hear everything okay or see everything okay. We're trying something new today, and when you do live things, it's hard to test the equipment and the situation. So please just let us know if you can hear everything okay. This is no better way to do a test, right? So what is Scot Forge?
Scot Forge is an open die forging company. Essentially, we take all different types of metal, heat it up, and squish it like Play-Doh. It's really a fascinating process to watch. And we serve all sorts of industries, from quite literally the bottom of the ocean to the outer limits of space. Forge anything from 5 pounds to a couple 100,000 pounds.
Yep.
Crazy cool stuff we get to do every day.
Yeah, and you guys are in Crystal Lake?
Spring Grove. We have
Grove.
3 locations. We have one in Spring Grove is our headquarters.
Yep.
And then a location in Clinton, Wisconsin, as well as Franklin Park, Illinois.
Okay. And Mike, you are like the kind of manufacturing, not totally manufacturing. What is your place in manufacturing?
So I guess to boil it down, I'm an industrial real estate broker, which no one in manufacturing typically wants to hear from.
That's not true. It just depends. You have to have the need.
Yep, it's true. But over the last almost 20 years, I've been involved with pretty much every manufacturing association out there, and been able to help them grow, help learn a lot about the industry, and meet a lot of good people.
Yeah, and the other part is through all the networking that Mags does is if you need something, if you're looking for anything under the sun, he's got a guy, he's got a person, he's got a girl, he's got something that he's got a person that he can refer to basically fit any need that's out there.
Any pain points?
Yeah.
Try me. Test me.
Yeah.
Test me at this point.
Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of TMA and all the different associations is being able to have that network of people that you can come alongside of and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Do you know somebody? And if he doesn't, or I don't, or Riley doesn't, there's a good chance that we know somebody that does know somebody that can help fill in that gap, right? And I think that's one of the things that's really cool that I've loved about manufacturing as a whole is that network side of things. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only getting bigger. The more the industry becomes, I would say, popular with this generation, you're getting even bigger connections and connections you didn't even think could exist. So,
yeah.
Did I think I'd be pals with a industrial broker here, but a real estate broker? No, but here we are.
Well, plus he's awesome.
Well, he is, yes.
I just need a Scot Forge plaid jacket. That's what I need.
Yeah. So if you're ever like out and about and you see people in the plaid jackets, you can ask them if they work at Scot Forge. And sometimes they'll say yes. And other times they'll just say, that's my jacket.
That is true. Plaid is our staple, that's for sure.
But it's cool when you go to the events and you see like the whole table of people wearing the plaid jackets. It makes a statement about, here we are.
Yeah, it definitely represents something deeper to us too. We're an employee-owned company, and everybody just kind of associates Scot Forge with the plaid, but internally we take it a little deeper, and we try and think of the way that it connects. The tartan is all woven different threads, and that's kind of how we operate our company. All the owners, past and previous, and future generations, to our customers, to our suppliers, kind of woven into one fun and loud tartan.
See, now I appreciate it so much more. I thought it was just a cool thing that y'all did.
It started out that way, but us marketing folk kind of took it a little deeper.
That's what marketing tends to do, doesn't it? Like, why do we have this thing? Well, let's come up with a reason.
Yeah. Well, it just kind of worked, right?
Yeah.
And our founders are actually from the Shetland Islands of Scotland, so it works there too.
Yeah, it works all the way around.
Yes.
So good news. Joel Zarnstorff says that the audio is good. Perfect. So there you go. We are prepared for you guys. We didn't know if it would work, but here it is working. So that's a good thing. Let's go backwards with some stuff. Mike, what's the best boss you ever had, and what made them the best?
Oh wow, we're coming random questions today. I like it. Best boss. I mean, if you go back, even go back to high school when you was working at a pizzeria. That's a good question. I would have to say it's more of a mentor than a boss.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think. It's a tough one. I do have a couple good teammates that I joined here recently at Cushman. I don't consider them my boss,
Okay.
but I've been working with them for about 15 years. And
Okay.
it's more of, I would say whatever question you have, the door is always open.
Yeah.
They're always encouraging. If they feel that you're not performing at a certain level, they'll encourage you to do better. It's more or less that, as opposed to kind of coming down hard on you.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty much, in regards to the best bosses. Never really have thought about it that way.
Okay.
So technically, I'm an independent salesperson, so been that way for about 20 years. So don't consider having a boss, but I mean, we all have a boss. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And that changes depending on who you are or what you're doing or what where you're at in life. Riley, any thoughts?
Same question.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm pretty young in my career, I would say. I've only had a few bosses, and both of them have been incredible. But on the mentor side, my professor in college, I actually wanted to be a nurse once upon a time, and had a freak out moment when I failed chemistry. I don't like to talk about it too much, but I had a kind of a freak out moment, and my professor also happened to be my advisor at the time. And she kind of just sat me down and said, "Hey, it's okay not to know. You still have a couple years to figure it out. Let's get the gen eds out of the way." And I'm a planner, very type A person, so that was a big step for me to step back and not really understand what I wanted to do. Was frightening, but I think that just kind of put everything that I'm currently doing in perspective at the time, and I didn't even know it. So if it wasn't for her, I probably would have struggled my way and become a nurse.
Well,
Glad I didn't.
Yeah. Isn't that funny though? Like when you look at career paths that parents would say, this is a good idea for you, right? A nurse would probably be way higher on that list than somebody in manufacturing. Why do you think that is?
Unfortunately, manufacturing has the stigma that it's dark and dirty and dangerous. And previously, that has been the case. And in some industries, it still is very dangerous and dirty. But I think today, people are realizing that we can't get through this world without manufacturing in today's society. And in the many years, there's been a lot of offshoring, and the pandemic kind of proved that we can't rely on that. Supply chain shortages and everything from a manufacturing standpoint, whether it's semiconductors and that go into different vehicles and the chip shortage. We really got to figure out what we're doing here at home. And I think that's really exciting for this next generation to enter that workforce, and hopefully, their parents recognize that it's not a step down to work in a trade or a manufacturing field. So I think nursing, we all have so much appreciation for nurses and doctors, especially after the last couple of years. So I think having students choose their own path and whatever's going to fulfill their life, I think parents are kind of realizing that that's not always the case.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I mean, I did not want to go into manufacturing when I was growing up. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I was a graphic designer. My wife and I had a marketing company that did not go as well as we would have hoped it would go. Vanessa was our first intern ever. She's been stuck with me for a very long time. But manufacturing is such a different thing. It's such a different beast. Mike, what are your thoughts on the manufacturers that you work with?
I've been surrounded by manufacturing since high school. I went to Elk Grove High School, had friends, and that family's been in manufacturing for multiple generations. So to kind of echo what Riley said, is the challenge is about 20 some years ago when I graduated Elk Grove High School, there really was only one teacher that was basically getting the kids or the high schoolers into the community, and that's a huge letdown. And now obviously we're making up for it over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 decades that we've kind of neglected it. So in terms of the best thing I can tell you about manufacturing and the people I work with is it's instilled in their livelihood, and it's something that they care about every day, and they care about the product that's being made. And I think what Riley touched upon was before COVID, people just didn't realize where everything was made or didn't. I mean, I'm using like a broad sense here, but there's a generation that didn't realize that everything that's in this world, except the air, the dirt, the water, and kind of the sun, we'll call it, everything else was manufactured.
Right.
So the importance of manufacturing is finally brought back to the forefront after COVID, and the importance that it, led to with survival and everything that it did to pivot. So what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a ton of reshoring right now, which is great, and you see a lot of. We're still seeing growth in terms of manufacturers. They're always just trying to figure out what's the best next thing that they can do to keep them competitive. Especially right now, it's automation versus workforce.
Yep. And workforce is a huge part of that. I know Justine is part of the TMA. She's a big part of the TMA. She's listening with us, and she says, "Hi from the TMA. Appreciate the shout out." If you're not part of the TMA, you should be, right? If you're in the Illinois area, if you're like our friend Scott Peters, who we'll get to in a second, you're in Ohio, there's plenty of organizations that you can belong to. He's part of the SPE, and there's all kinds of things. But the TMA does so many different things to promote manufacturing and push for kids and their parents to know what manufacturing is really like. It's great to continue to promote those organizations as well. And I know that if you want a soft introduction to what the TMA is like, and maybe you're wondering what is out there for manufacturing, right? What are these people actually like? There's plenty of events that you can go to. I'm sure TMA would open their doors and say, "Yeah, come in, see what we're doing. You want to tour a facility? Let me call them and see if that's available." We have the Christians in Manufacturing event coming up in November.
Yep.
Right?
We have the Feed My Starving Children in a couple weeks.
Yep, Feed My Starving Children in a couple weeks. So it's just another thing that manufacturers are doing that nobody even knows about, right? Everything has to be made. One could even argue that dirt and water has to go through a manufacturing process before you pick it up at Home Depot or wherever it is. And, somebody has to do those jobs. And we want them to be done here, right? So many people care about the care of workers, and they want more humanitarian efforts, and they care about all those different things. But you look at where you're buying your products from, and you're really not showing that with your dollar, because if you're buying stuff from China or wherever things come from, you really think they're taking care of their people like they are in the United States. The dollar has to start speaking more than just words, right? But there's so many people that are doing so many things. We talked about SPE with Scott Peters, and we have a young lady. She works for CDM Tool, and we started doing a thing with her. It's called Track the Apprentice. And so we met Taylor when she was in high school, and she was an apprentice at CDM Tool. And we talked to her, and we said, "Can we track your journey? Can we see what you're doing in high school and what the apprenticeship is like, and then continue to follow you for the next 2 to 3 years of your career and just tell those stories?" Because if we're honest, right, kids don't care what we want to do, right? They want to see what young kids are doing and how their path is forming and how they can be that person. And so if you want to do that, you can follow Taylor on the SPE Mold Technologies page and see what she's doing. There's a whole video series about what that looks like. Just a way to see what people are actually doing. But you guys are involved in something that I think is really cool. That's through McHenry, right? And it's the
Manufacturing Pathways Consortium.
Manufacturing Pathways Consortium. That's a lot to say, but what is that exactly?
I guess it's on me.
Go
All right,
ahead.
perfect. So in 2019, the summer of 2019, Scot Forge's CEO, John Kane, connected McHenry County MCC to David DeWitt, who's a known, or David DeLong, I apologize. He's a known kind of call it a career path, facilitator with workforce and so on and so forth. And the goal was to get kind of that triangle of different services within the community to align. So you have your educators, you have your manufacturers, and then you have the community.
Okay.
So you kind of have almost everything at this table, what do you call it? You have the community and the manufacturer, and then you have the educators. So what they created and what they've been building on feverishly over the last 4 years now is how do we take that student through education process from junior high all the way up, and how do we get them in, lack of better terms, a pathway into the workforce. So it's been exciting to see the growth. Created a website. There's a common hiring application page where, say you were coming from a different field. Say you're a high school student that worked only at a retail store. You really don't have a resume.
Which is likely.
Which is 90% of them.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can fill out that resume application, and what it does is ask you questions about who you are, what you like, and kind of the skill sets. What that does is it goes out to all the manufacturers in the consortium. We have about 85 manufacturers, about 41 community partners, and 15 educators. So it's the whole ecosystem that we're trying to create that starts out in the schools and goes all the way in. So we're on our second rotational internship.
Yep.
We've had over 140 kids in 2 years. I think that's
awesome.
kind of light, actually. It's 178 students in the last
better.
2 years. So it's a 10-week program, 2 5-week rotationals. So 5 weeks you can work at Alliance, 5 weeks you can work at Scot Forge, and it's a paid internship. And it's the reaction, the feedback from everything from the student to the parents to the companies. I mean, it's unbelievable to see, because again, it gets them hands-on knowledge. And like Riley said, the misconception's real. They host, another different committees are within this. So we're part of the marketing and communications.
Sure.
Other committees put on anything from, we have a whole month of plant tours to manufacturing breakfasts to career expos for October. So what that does is it gets the parents out, and the parents then could see firsthand and understand that their student is going on this path, because again, for a long time it was you have to go to college because that's the only thing out there. So it's been amazing to see the growth. The leadership within it is unbelievably dedicated. There's monthly meetings that gets everyone involved on a Zoom call. We've done some internal meetings. We've done some external meetings. We have member mixers. We'd love to host something at your plant once, maybe.
Love it.
But that's kind of that in a nutshell, and it's been exciting to watch.
The best part about it is, in any other situation, all these different companies are competing for the same people, right? I'll pay you more, or I'll give you more vacation. Sure. With members of the consortium, with that common hiring application, and just the mission in general is we're all competing in the same pool, right. But we're not going to, kind of convince you which way or the other. We want you to come experience it. And that's exactly what this rotational program is for those students to come and experience all these different applications within manufacturing. For instance, somebody might come into Scot Forge and go, man, it's hot here. We do not like it. And that's all right. We get it. And that's what's so cool about them being, 16, 17, 18 years old. They have so much time to figure it out. And they might go to General Kinematics and see that, this is their passion. They find their passion here. And, we're at Scot Forge, we're not going to take that to heart. We're just happy someone is entering that industry and really found what they're here for, what their purpose is.
I think that's my favorite part of it, right? Is the idea everybody in manufacturing is looking for more people. That's the big issue that we all have, right? Like there are plenty of jobs to be had. It's the people that we need. And sometimes you say we need skilled labor. No, right now I would say we just need dedicated labor, right? Committed labor, people that are willing to learn, willing to work. They want to show up every day. They want to earn a living, and they want to better themselves and other people. That's the main focus, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's expecting kids or people to come in knowing all the stuff.
Right.
That's part of the training process. And so, when Mags, when you guys were telling me about this and Katie was telling me about this, I fell in love with the program. I love the idea. This facility is unfortunately outside the range of the consortium.
Not necessarily.
No?
No, it's neighboring counties as well.
Okay.
So it starts in McHenry, but obviously continues out.
So how far out does it go then?
Boy, We have Rockford,
Yeah.
Oh,
Rockford, South Elgin, Buffalo Grove,
okay.
north of the border. So I would, that's kind of everything. You kind of limit your belief to something that's more geographically located.
Yeah.
This one is, it does kind of start in McHenry County, but I wouldn't limit it. We have partners. TMA is a partner of Manufacturing Pathways, so I think everyone's kind of looking at as a whole. How can we help each other?
Sure.
And the one thing that I would say in terms of helping each other, whenever you're out looking for talents, you're looking for someone out there, skilled labor, whichever. Unfortunately, poaching is something that is common. It happens, and it's just it's the unfortunate part of it. But there is an underlying agreement between all the 85 manufacturing members is that if someone comes in on the common hiring app or there's someone that's coming in through the pipeline, that it's for the greater good of the association or pathway consortium. But it's not you're not going to sit there and obviously try to poach someone from another. It happens, but that's the underlying kind of factors that we want to at least values that we want to base everything on.
And I think that was the other part of what I like is that this whole plan, yes, it's to look for future employees, right? But it's also to show the kids that there are options. You have options. Like it doesn't have to be college or bust. It doesn't have to be college or bussing tables. You can have very, very, very credible, well-paying, skilled jobs with a little bit of training and hard work and effort. And if you're sitting at home and you're going, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Great, not many people do, right? You went from nursing to being full-on manufacturing.
That's crazy.
I went from graphic designing. My father made my life miserable here. This was his company, so here you go, manufacturing dad, who wanted their kids to have nothing to do with the company because he wanted better for them, right? Fast forward, 30 years of my life, and he's going, you're a jackass, you should come work here, we can pay you, we need your skills, come work here. And that's where we wind up. But it took that time. And manufacturing has changed a lot. My dad will tell you when he was an apprentice in a mold making shop, nobody knew his name, right? They just called him whatever they wanted to call him. Most of the times it was dipshit Greek. That was like what they called him. That was, I don't know what the acronym is for that, but that was his name. That's all they knew him as. And, we were just at a mold making conference and somebody raised their hand and they were like, what do you do when you have these new people coming in and you have European mold makers who are set in their ways, and they were raised to be bullied and harassed to get better at their job, and now they want to do that to the next generation. What do you do for them? And it was like unanimously, tell them to stop. Like that's not acceptable in today's world. That's not how we do things, right? Scot Forge has been around for how long?
130 years this year.
130 years. So I'm sure, if we're honest, Scot Forge started in that same way. You had very strict, hardened people, blue collar workers. They're tough guys. They're not pussyfooting around with stuff. To today's culture, where you're explaining things more, right? And it's a softer idea. How was that progress, and what did it look like, and what does it look like today?
Yeah. So ironically enough, my grandpa was one of those blue collared guys.
Yeah.
Worked at Scot Forge for a decently long time. And I often think about like, man, he would have trouble with this one today.
Yes.
But I think the biggest motivator for that change is strategy and innovation. You can't innovate if you're not open-minded, and you can't strategize if you're not open-minded. So I think the need to continue to be better and forge a better future for that next generation kind of had everyone scratching their heads going, all right, we got to do things a little different here. And we started as a small hammer shop down in Cicero, Illinois, and now we have 3 locations with 2 joint ventures. arguably the leader in the open die industry, and there is no way that we could have done that without the generations before us coming in and saying we got to fix what we're doing today so that the next generation can have it better.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, of course you had to be hardened at first, right? And learn those things. You had to, there was only one way to do it, right? And it wasn't soft. It was like the farmer mentality, right? Pick it up and move it. Let's go. We got things to do. We got to move. We got to do this stuff. And now, like you said, there's strategy, there's process, there's systems, there's all of these things that there's automation, there's technology. Like everything has gotten better. And so have the attitudes and the learning and the teaching and the training to be able to bring people along. What's the feedback been from the students and I would say the parents also that are taking part in this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's two different thought processes. Some people realize it's not for them. So that just happens. There's always a percentage of that.
And it's good that they figure that out. Yep. You can cross that off your list.
Yep. But the eye-opening experience at these career expos or anything else or besides the rotational internships is that this job is obviously a career.
Sure.
You know, I think, the misconception in the past was manufacturing is not a career when that was always a misnomer. It was incorrect.
Right.
So I think the education goes not only to the student, but even more so for the parents. So parents have, however they grew up, it could be completely outside of manufacturing.
Right.
And they could have whatever conception they have on that industry, which completely falls. So that's the main thing that we see is that the alignment between the parent and the student. Not every student is made for manufacturing. Not every student's made for finance or whatever it may be. But finding those students that have kind of those skill sets. Right. And the skill sets are becoming more and more. I mean, there are a wider range of skill sets because again, think of CNC machines. It's a lot of math.
Yes.
So it's different than tool and die in the past. It's different than stamping. It's different. But at the end of the day, you still need to obviously calculate things. So it's just in a different way. It's a little more automated with robotics and technology, and that's supplementing the workforce need.
Right.
But again, it's never going to replace it.
Right.
So
we have, you've been here before. We've got laser welders downstairs. It sounds very scary. It sounds like it's a thing that's going to take you years and years to learn how to do. And to be really good at it, the guys always get mad at me when I say anybody can learn how to be a laser welder. It takes years of training to be an expert, right? Like anything else. But we have a guy that's working with us. His name is Matthew. Before Matthew was working here, he was working at our church in buildings and grounds. And he's excelling. He's excelling because those things that he has been doing his whole life, playing video games or whatever, allows him to have hand-eye coordination and dexterity and focus through the microscope for long periods of time and not have to get up all the time and want to do this, that, or the other thing. And so it's different experiences that allow people to excel in different areas. To your point, like it's mathematics, it's design, it's taking all those things that you just like to do and applying it in new situations and opportunities.
That was the common hiring application that we have, is because it's asking you what your strengths are for skill sets.
Okay.
Because a skill set could translate towards laser welding. A skill set could be more mathematical with CNC or what. I mean, there's obviously 1,000 different examples I can give, but the point is to understand the person and what drives them. Number one, and number two, how do they think about things and what do they apply, whether it's math, whether it's anything else, and what have they been successful in the past?
Yep.
Because then you can kind of take that and say, all right, well, this fits this job description, but maybe our job description was wrong in the past.
Yeah.
And now we need to create something that's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We used to have one of the questions I heard people ask all the time is they would say, did you ever take your bike apart as a kid? Like, did you ever take your speaking spell and take the screws out and see what was inside? I did that. I couldn't put it back together. It just ended up being garbage. But that's just reality. That's why they don't let me on the shop floor. That's a different thing. But if you have that kind of curiosity, like, how does this work? What makes this happen? Where does this come from? Right? That might mean that you're made for manufacturing.
Yeah, and actually, one of our students last year from the rotational program, Mason, he kind of had that mindset, and he knew he wanted to get his hands dirty. He knew he wanted to do something with his hands, and he was going to go straight into the trades after he graduated. And then he came to Scot Forge and he did the internship, and he had a wonderful time, a wonderful experience. And he goes, I think I want to further my education doing something like this. So not only did he find a passion, he was able to expand his educational growth and go to a educational opportunity that would only help him in his future career. And we still keep in contact. I'm like, how's school going? And he's doing great. And hopefully one day we'll see him back at Scot Forge. But just knowing that he found, because he was able to take some parts from his bike or his car or whatever, and fiddle with those, he found his career out of doing that.
And it's so cool because nobody realizes how things are made, whether it's paper clips or pens or medical equipment, and how every single thing, it serves a purpose bigger than this piece, right? This part. One of the guys that we have working with us, he had to take his wife to the hospital for whatever it was. And while they were there, he was looking around the room and he was like, oh, I worked on that mold. I helped build that. I helped get it up and running again. And now my wife is requiring that piece for life, right? And it's so cool when you have those eye-opening experience that it's not just this thing. It's so much bigger than that. So you want to be in the medical field, build molds for the medical community. I mean, I want to save lives, but I don't want to be a doctor or a police officer or whatever. Like, there's opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, do you think of Scot Forge? I mean, we forged the wheels that are on the Mars rover, the Curiosity and Perseverance. So just to know that, we have our forgings up on Mars right now, it's just crazy for all of us to comprehend. But, it's just, we want to help serve our national defense. We quite literally, the bottom of the ocean to the outer limits of space, we're impacting it in some capacity, so awesome. Which, sitting in a hospital room, I couldn't even imagine that feeling that guy had.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's amazing to think those things, right? Like, not everybody is going to be a 7-foot tall, gifted NBA player, right? But you can coach kids. Mm-hmm. You can learn how to do those things. You can apply those passions in other areas. Not everybody's going to be an astronaut, right? But maybe you can design the wheels for the Mars rover, which is pretty freaking awesome too.
I mean, the nice thing about what I see, and obviously remove the whole real estate aspect of it, is for the last almost 19 years, I've been in thousands of different manufacturing distribution buildings. So you get to see the whole supply chain where a part starts, goes in, out of the plant to get finished in some way, and then gets even put on the truck and delivered to the end user. So it's like, I always say, it's like the movie Minority Report, where Tom Cruise has those goggles and he's moving things around.
Yep.
I feel like I can, when I at least go see a part, I have enough knowledge to be dangerous by saying, okay, this part needs this person, this person, this person to get it from start to finish.
Right.
So your career in manufacturing could be at any point of that whole supply chain, which is amazing to see. And I think one thing that we touched upon with these different groups and associations is that the alignment right now between pretty much everyone in Illinois, you have Illinois Manufacturing Association, who has their bus tour in October.
Yep.
They're working with us, the Manufacturing Pathways Consortium, to have a stop on the Makers Tour. You have TMA that's part of it. Valley Industrial is working with TMA. You have IMAs working with everyone. So you have this, this different philosophy in each of those different associations. I wouldn't say philosophy. They all excel on something different, whether it's training, whether it's connectivity, whether it's community, whatever it may be. But everyone's literally an arm in arm moving forward, saying the only way we're going to progress this industry is if we all do it together.
Yep. And
that's been amazing to see because, again, it's taken a while to do that, but I feel like it's here.
It's getting there, right? I mean, it's that recognition, and we just have to keep telling the story over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Scott Peters is asking, do you do any career orientation testing, such as the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery? It's the way that the military kind of sorts through rough recruits. You don't have to stop at a journey level training. Many junior colleges are offering associate's track with an apprenticeships. Any thoughts?
So I know that we do a couple different testing in the recruitment process and things like that. But I don't know if you're asking specifically about apprenticeship programs that we offer. But yes, we are partnered directly with MCC and Blackhawk Technical College up in Wisconsin to offer those types of partnerships and apprenticeships. But anybody who's willing to put on their boots and come to work, we'll work with you in any capacity that we can, and that goes for literally any of the manufacturing partners in the consortium.
Yeah. Kira Tillman is with us, and she says, "Spot on, Mike. Our local manufacturing community is fantastic at coming together for the common good." I agree. We had Kira on a while ago for doing the podcast. It was a great conversation. It's one of the, I think it was the second or third place I heard about the consortium and what that actually looks like. And it's just so cool for me to be part of the TMA and do those things. Like I was on the Educational Foundation for a while, and you just heard of all the schools that were looking for grants to putting in a machining center. And the teachers seem like they really are recognizing the need for manufacturing, and that they're not trying to stuff every kid in the same box right now, which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old brother, and we went to the same high school. He's just started his junior year, and just the conversations that he's having with his teachers versus the conversations I was having with my teachers, vastly different. And that's 10 years apart. Yeah. So I'm very happy to know that dynamic has shifted within the education system, because I know that he doesn't want to go to a 4-year university. He's not cut out for that. So that his teachers are inspiring him to explore different options is really, really exciting.
I went to Wakanda High School, where in Wakanda they had like an open house in their tech center that they've rebuilt, and they've got laser cutting machines in there. They've got Haas CNC machines in there. They are doing all kinds of really cool stuff that I never had that in high school. That was not an option. That was not a thing. We had industrial arts, right, where you did like CAD drawings, but by hand with pen and pencil and a T-square and an angle. And it was an awesome class, just never really understood where that applied. My son is in incubator class, where they have to work together and come up with a product. They're learning how to correctly build their team, that you don't need all people thinking the same way. You just need everybody rowing in the same direction. They're learning that different skill sets help different ways on the team. They have to come up with a problem, solve the problem, and build a product. And then the best product wins. So now you're doing public speaking classes. You're doing CAD classes. You're doing engineering classes. You're doing sales classes. You're doing all these things in one model. My daughter, she's a freshman at PR, and one of the programs that they started that I think is really cool is they paired woodworking and geometry. So it's a dual class. So now you don't have a passion for math because you don't get it, right? Like, what's the point of this? Well, we're going to show you the point of it, because now you can actually build the product that you're solving for. So they're going around the school and they're saying, what is a problem that the school has that needs to be solved? How can we do that? How does math help us do it? Like, those are all manufacturing questions. And so it's slowly coming along. But like, to the parents, do you realize that that's manufacturing? Or is that just kind of like sneaking up on you and biting you? And you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, my niece is at Fremd High School, and they have an incubator class that they've won competitions and grants for a certain product that they're actually presenting it to a couple businesses to see if they can get a prototype. Actually, they have a prototype. They're actually going to see if it gets in production. And it's, it was, you think back, again, I was in Elk Grove, the mecca of manufacturing in the Midwest, and all I remember was a couple drills and woodworking. Yeah. But again, it's nice to see, my daughter's at Buffalo Grove, Elk Grove. I mean, they have just a number of different applications that you can teach on to get, enough skills to go on to the next level. Yep. So it's great to see. And, TMA has their courses. Each community colleges are starting to get involved with it. So it's the resources are out there. Now it's just creating the mindset that it's a long-term career, and it's, forget all the perception that was out there in the past.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing for the parents is at least the parents we see come in and, just how I would think about if it was my little brother sitting in that room, we've got generations of people who have worked for manufacturing and all the companies, and just knowing that Scot Forge safety is our number one priority, just
Sure.
like many other manufacturing organizations, and knowing that when those students step in the door, everyone is going to do whatever they can to make sure that student is going home the same way they came in.
Yep.
They might be tired, they might be a little dirty,
They should
but
be.
yeah, exactly. But they're going to be safe about it.
Yeah.
They're outside of the walls. It's just manufacturing. Inside, we're family and we take care of each other, both from a safety standpoint and a financial standpoint. Because when we all do well, the business does well.
Right. And I think what's cool is like a lot of the jobs that were considered dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are now the things that manufacturers are trying to automate.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to put robots in place or conveyor belts or whatever that looks like to take people and give them skilled jobs where a lot of the risk and the danger and the monotony jobs
Yep.
are gone, right? Manufacturing is growing and changing more than I think any other industry because of all those things. Creating higher efficiencies, creating new applications, finding kids that want to do things different than just pick and place, right? You can have a robot do that. You can have a robot do inspection. You can have all those different things. We need the creativity. We need the thinking kids. We need the kids that are curious about how does this happen? What does this look like? How does this go to market? All those different things. I was telling Mike, I feel like as an industry, we missed the boat with COVID. Right? Like COVID sucked for so many reasons, but what it did is it put a microscope on the product development side of things. Right? You had a major issue that needed to be solved immediately, right? And so before you even knew the problem, there were people engineering ideas and thoughts and solutions for what that looked like. And it would be awesome. I know it's years afterwards, but if anybody's listening to this and you're smart and you want to write something or tell the story on the news or whatever, I think that idea that there was a major world catastrophe and manufacturers from across the globe stopped what they were doing, right? They said, we're going to stop making the product that we typically make. We're going to put that on hold because there's a need that's bigger than our pocketbooks. And tell that story of how you went from a problem to a solution and every step along the way, whether that was the engineers involved or the scientists involved, the molds being made, the sourcing the material, sourcing the plastic, getting the plastic, choosing the plastic, testing the products, rolling it out, the packaging, the deployment, all of it was done in months and weeks. Yeah. How does that happen? And then you had like the society at large saying, why isn't there more?
Yeah.
Well, because there's no understanding of what actually goes into it. For those of us that were in the industry, we're like, what do you mean more? Like, you're lucky there's any. We went from nothing to millions of things overnight. And I really think that there's a story to be told there over and over again of how are things made? What does this look like? What are the companies across our country doing to make ourselves better than the rest of the world when it comes to manufacturing and taking care of people and whether that's recycling and sustainability or whatever. I would challenge that the U.S. is at the forefront of all of it, and it's just a matter of knowing it and telling those stories. And sometimes those stories aren't sexy. Right? Everybody wants doom and gloom on the news. Wherever side of the aisle you're on, those are the stories that people tell. Right? There's very little save the puppy stories, or the realities of what is actually happening and how people are contributing in society. But I think I'm biased. I think manufacturing does it better than anybody else.
I agree. I mean, the resilience nature of manufacturing, and the one thing that I see and we did a event about the next generation of manufacturing workers.
Yep.
And the countless stories about cross-training right now, because again, companies do multiple functions within there, and automation takes away, some of those, monotony and some of those dangerous jobs, but it allows you to train people on different parts of the job. So the skill sets of these workers within your shop
Yeah.
have, their skill sets have multiplied. So you're actually helping them become a better worker,
Yep.
more, with more capabilities in the future. And as we all know, the more valuable they are to you, then you want to help them grow within your organization. So, the partnership between obviously the ownership and the workers, I think, is critical in what we're seeing right now. And, the path to, from starting out day one all the way to where you're going to end in that job at whatever level it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that most fascinating right now.
Yep.
Flexibility is just so important within any organization when it comes to career development. We have a program at Scot Forge, the flex work that we do, where multiple people are trained in multiple departments, so that when there is a influx of work, or if there's a situation that comes up, we can swarm to that department, and those skilled individuals who may be primarily in the forge but also know machining, or primarily in heat treat and also know inspection, can kind of shift wherever our customers need us to go. And that's our main priority, right? Is whatever that customer needs, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure it happens. So not only is it helping our customers, it's helping that individual grow and learn something that they might otherwise not.
No, it makes sense. So we should probably say, how do businesses get involved in the consortium, and how do students enroll in the process?
Well, I think the easiest is go to the website, mfgpathways.com.
mfgpathways.com.
Yep, that's easy. I mean, there's a contact section. There's also a list of all the consortium members. There's a who's hiring page.
Okay.
There's that common application. And then on the rotational internships, we're working on a page for that, but there's a little blurb on that, but we're going to dedicate a page just for that.
Okay.
So that's number one, and that's probably your best way to get involved. If you are obviously in the surrounding McHenry County, school systems, for the most part, majority of the education districts are involved with us, or they know about it. Now, obviously, there's ones that aren't, but we can probably get a list of companies, of the educators that are within that to help the audience understand that. So that's probably the easiest way. If you want to reach out to myself or Riley or anyone else within it, there's a bunch of people that are team leads, but I don't want to obviously spam email addresses here.
No, of course.
And follow us on socials too. We have active social media, Manufacturing Pathways Consortium, LinkedIn, Facebook. Try and post almost every day.
Okay. Kara just shared the link with us, so it's on the screen now. And I'm sure Vanessa will put it in show notes so that we have it. So that's good. And then if you are an educator, if you're a school looking for resources and funds to build out your program, there's plenty of places to do that also, right? We mentioned the TMA has their education foundation, so there's that.
IMEC has grants.
IMF has
IMEC, Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center.
Okay.
EMIC.
Okay.
Or IMEC, sorry. They have grants for different counties, for businesses, for multiple different things. So yeah, there's different ways through each organization as well as counties that you can get some reimbursement on.
Yeah. And Scott Peters reminds us that the SPE Mold Technologies Division says we need grant applications for plastics, mold making, precision machining programs. So all you have to do, educators, schools, all you have to do is ask. There's money there, right? Like the idea and the reasoning that there's no funds to develop this program is not acceptable. I mean, I know AMBA has grants. All those places are trying to give money away. I've been in the TMA version of it, and it was like, man, how do we give away this money? We want to give away the money to schools. We want to see schools embrace this idea and not build dungeons, to your point, but build sophisticated training centers to replicate and mimic what manufacturing is today.
Yeah. And I would also recommend, talk to the local manufacturing companies in your area. can't guarantee that they'll give you a whole lot, but they could give you curriculum and show what the workforce is looking for, right? What skills we need your help developing, so that when they are ready, they're prepared. So.
I mean, I was just going to say that, McHenry College, community college, they have different courses geared towards the soft skills and obviously the hard skills. And the hard skills are more going to be the rotational programs and everything. Then TMA has a affiliation with Judson College, so you can get the hands-on skill training through TMA. Then obviously through Judson's, you can have different programs. So there's a lot of different resources depending on your location. And again, they're not competing against each other because there's more than enough room for as many students possible out there.
There are no shortage of jobs.
No.
That is a fact. So anytime you see somebody saying, like you see on the news, there's no jobs. There are so many jobs. There's not enough people.
Yeah.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I say there's not enough people, what I'm talking about is, if you want to build something into your student, your child, teachers, you want to build into the student, allow them the opportunity to speak more, right? Do more speeches and public speaking, give more presentation classes, help develop confidence in our students so that they can walk up to a business or an owner or a boss and have an honest conversation, telling them, I would like to come work with you. I would like a job. I'm having a problem with so-and-so. Help me solve it, right? Instead of just sitting back and relaxing. Because again, it's changed, it's opened up. But the things that we look for in an IT job or a medical job or whatever is the same thing that you need in manufacturing to a degree, where you need that ability to communicate and have some confidence. We were at a trade show and this father and son came up to me, and the son was in high school and the father came up and he said, this is my son. My son would like to work. He would like to get a job. How would you think he should go about getting a job? And I said, first of all, Dad, go wait in the car. You need to go wait in the car. And you need to let your son talk for himself. So your son is in the area, he's in a trade show where everybody here is hiring. So what do you need to do? You need to walk up to somebody and say, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you. I'm looking for a job and a career, working with my hands. I'm not really interested in going to school. I want to be a manufacturer. Are you hiring? Can you tell me about it? Pretty easy, right? That's basically the whole application process. Like, are you a curious person that wants to work hard? Are you somebody that's going to show up on time? Are you somebody that's going to learn? Are you somebody that's looking for those things? Then you fit in great.
Yeah.
Tom Hawkins says, great discussion today. Thank you. My summer factory job became a 40-year career. This discussion is very much on point. So, I mean, that's it, right? Mm-hmm. It starts out as something simple, and 40 years later, you're still doing the same thing. And Tom's a great guy. I mean, but all of that, it builds character. It builds that stick-to-itness. You're constantly learning.
Yeah.
What does Scott say? Scott says, well, that's a lot of zeros. 6 million metalworking careers are open right now. The biggest reason people are going offshore for tooling is we cannot meet the capacity requirements. It's true. And it's sad.
Yeah.
Right? Because here we are wanting the work and it's going offshore, and it shouldn't be doing it.
The capacity's there.
Right.
I mean, the job, the work is there. It's just, it's been the crutch for the last multiple decades, just not having enough workers.
Yep. And the other part of it is, again, I'll say it, as society, we have to understand that things are going to cost more than they do on Amazon. If we want things to be made here, if we want to fill positions, if we want to fill jobs, if we want sustainability, if we want all those things, you can't buy it on Amazon. Right? You gotta invest your dollar where your heart and your beliefs are. So that's all that. You guys got any other thoughts, comments, concerns?
No concerns.
No concerns.
No
That's good.
concerns. No.
All right. So before we close every show, we end with a prayer because I think that's really, really important. So if you are watching and listening with us, if you have any prayer requests, go ahead and put those in the chat, and we will get to them. You guys have any prayer requests for anything?
Nothing I can think of right now.
Not off the top of my head. For a good school year for all the students coming up.
Good school year. our pastor says, if you don't have any prayer requests, we'll pray for your suffering so that you have some next time. No, don't do that. I'll come up with something. And then every time my wife says suffering, I get hurt. And then she suffers. So that's the way that works. All right, well, we'll pray and then we'll go on here. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for these two people, for Riley and Mags, for their dedication and their passion for what they're doing. And we just pray that this school year would be good and safe for all the kids and the teachers, and that that they would be safe in this crazy world and time that we live in, and we don't know what's up and down. We can take heart knowing that you're the truth and that you are in control. And so we just pray that you would be with those that are hurting, those with anxiety, those who are being bullied or scared or lonely in school or at home or at work, and that they would know that you're there and that they would feel comforted by your presence. We pray for those little ones who are sick with cancer or whatever disease, that you would give them help and hope and healing if that is your will. And through all of it, we just trust you and we give it to you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Riley, thank you for being here. It's nice to meet you. This is the first time we got to have a conversation, so that's awesome.
It's been great.
I always like first-time conversations with this show because that's a fun thing. It's a fun reality. Mike, not the first time I've seen you.
Nope.
Won't be the last time I see you, but thank you for all that you do for the industry. Your passion is it's there. It's awesome. That's awesome. I know it inspires me to keep doing more. So thank you guys for being part of the show and for coming out to our little old Wakanda and sharing what you do. It's meaningful. Kira, thank you for saying good job. Scott, thank you for saying good job. Thank you everybody who watched and listened and who might listen in the future. Do us a favor. If you like this show at all, share it on LinkedIn or leave a comment or leave a suggestion, or even if that suggestion is you suck and you need to change everything, just let me know so I can get better. I'm not offended, I promise. I want this to be useful for people for a really long time. It's not about us, it's about growing the industry and telling those stories of successes and failures and how we all continue to get better. So please share the information with others. We want to keep doing the show. We don't make any money from it. It's just a passion project. So you're not helping me really. It's great. But for all of you that watched and listened, thank you for doing that. We look forward to seeing you at our golf outing September 22nd. If that is something that you're interested in, we would love to see you there. That's alliancelasersales.com/golf. Till then, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.